Hello, friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Webisode. Through this webisode, our goal is to get the best in the project management field and learn from them. And today,
Yeah.
my guest, my today the guest, I would say a friend, a mentor, a coach, even I would say a virtual mentor. I still remember my PMP journey when I was preparing from PM for PMP. My coach told me that if you want to clear PMP, you have to do Oliver Lehman's question. And they were open to do even that time when there was no Udemy for do the questions. Oliver Lehman's questions were still online. And finally, I would say it's a dream of a new project management consultant to have a web episode, to have a podcast with one of his virtual mentors who has written basically two books, and I will highly recommend that you read those books. And the books are very important when you try to understand how basically business work. One of his book is Project Business Management, and the second book is Situational Project Management: The Dynamic of Success and Failure. So without further delaying, I would like to invite Oliver. Thank you very much, Oliver, for joining us. Thank you.
Hi, Ali. Great to have you here.
Oliver, so can you share us your journey in a way that can give us three lessons that we can implement as a project managers? Any lessons in your journey?
There are so many lessons you need to learn as a project manager, but I think the three most important ones. First of all, when you're young, be careful, because this is something that really can destroy your self-esteem, your CV. People bring you into projects where you have no chance of survival. So that's the first recommendation I would give, particularly to young people or people who are young, who are fresh in the industry. The second thing is have a network with great project managers who you can learn from. You can observe, you see what they do well and what they do not so well, and learn from them and from what you see and what you observe. And then don't be afraid of making errors. You will do a lot of errors, and part of project management is doing things wrong and then fixing them. Yeah, that's an essential part of project management. And over a long term, of course, make sure you have some kind of PMP certification or something to show the world I'm in the business, I'm in the profession. This is where I stand, and this is what I love doing. Yeah, what I'm interested in, where I develop myself. So bring some signals out that people know what you want to do.
Okay, okay. So three great lessons: be careful, try new things, have a great
Yep.
network, and always try new things, learn new things, and get a certification like PMP and things like that. Okay,
Yes.
in real professional life, basically how much PMP can help you if you are going for an interview or a new job? How much PMP can help you? What is your thoughts on it?
My very personal experience, first of all, I did the certification in 2001, and it was one of the most
Okay.
valuable things I did for my own career, for my income, for my own professionalism. The preparation process was important, and then being a PMP was extremely valuable. I also hold a Master of Science in Project Management. And if I look back,
Hmm.
how much
Okay.
time and energy did I invest into the master studies and into the master degree, and how much did I invest into the PMP? And then balance it out. What did it bring to me? The PMP was the much better. Americans say the bang for the buck.
Okay.
Yeah, you got more. I got
Okay.
more for all the time, for all the money. By the way, it's much cheaper, of course. Yeah. Um, I had much more benefit out of the PMP certification. Things have changed since 2001. When I did it in 2001, you had to explain people why would you do that. But today
Okay.
you have to explain why are you not yet certified. So that has changed a bit. But apart from that, I think this very positive effect on your life is still there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, okay. So I would reiterate in these words that being a PMP is sometimes more cost to benefit analysis if you do for your master's program and for a for PMP, the PMP stands out. I would say in the PMP terms, if we have a two projects and we go with the project selection technique, PMP will be the number one projects to go for that. Okay,
That's it.
so
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
since exam is changing in 2021, we would like you to share your thoughts, the material you have prepared, that what is basically changing and how we can learn for it. Then at
Yeah,
the
I
end,
have
yeah,
some
and at the
slides
end,
prepared here, some
yeah, sure.
information prepared here. It's still very basic, but the change will be in January. And actually, to if you want to become PMP still this year, it may no more be possible because you
Okay.
need some time for preparation, you need
Mm-hmm.
time for application, and then you have to have a seat in a
Mm-hmm.
testing center, or you do it online as a proctored online candidate, and whether they will have a seat free for you, or Proctor will have a time slot for you. That's another big question. So my recommendation is, if you start
Mm-hmm.
thinking about becoming a PMP today, I think the best thing that you can do is really go for the new examination, and do the new thing. We have
Okay.
to look at three main documents when you go for the PMP. There are three main documents that you should care about. The first one, hang on here. The first one is called the PMP Examination Content Outline. And this is the document that is renewed, that is changing now. It's the syllabus of the examination. If you want to know what are the contents that I see questions for, that I will see new questions, then I have to read the new examination content outline. What does PMI want me to know so that they tell me and others you are certified? So the syllabus is a core document, the PMP examination content outline. We have a second book, which we will not discuss that much here now, but that's the PMP handbook. It describes the process, application, preparation, payment. All these things are described in here. Both of these documents can be downloaded for free from PMI's website. If someone does not know where to find them, send me a brief email and I will send them to you, the most recent versions. And then we have another third document, that's the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. This is also free for download, but you have to be a member of PMI. If you're a member of PMI, PMI will give you a discount for the exam fee of $150. The membership in PMI costs you $139 in the first year. So it's paying back on its own. You know, in Germany, we have a group of people called Swabians. I'm a Swabian by heart and by birth. We look at every way to save some money somewhere. So becoming a member of PMI is a valuable thing because you get the investment back over the fee, over the examination fee, but also then you receive the opportunity, the download opportunity for the PMBOK Guide, and it's still the 6th edition. There's a new PMBOK Guide in work, and this new PMBOK Guide will be brought to the market. Hard to predict at the moment. With COVID, it's difficult to make predictions on time, but one can say relatively sure first half year of 2021, maybe earlier in the year, maybe a bit later, but it will be before July. It will be in the first half year, hopefully in the first quarter of the year. But this is not our topic for today because it's still the old PMBOK Guide that is relevant here. So the PMBOK Guide is not the document that is changing. And the other thing we have to understand is it's not a book test. It's not a test. Do you know the PMBOK Guide? It is a test. Do you know how to apply these things? If we get questions about situations in projects, so we have to answer situational questions here. Do you know what to do with all this knowledge? And there are other references. There are some topics in the class, in my seminars, as well as in the exam later, which are not in the PMBOK Guide. And people sometimes ask why I asked for that. It's not in the guide. No, but it's still in the examination. because it could be in the examination content outline. So this examination content outline is our guiding document, but the reference, the PMBOK guide, is a document we should know, and we should actually know quite well. Examination content outlines have been in existence since 2005. And by the way, where I have the freedom to do preparation classes the way I like to do that. I don't always have this when I work for training providers or so. But when I have the freedom to run the class as I like it as a trainer, I always followed, since 2005, I always followed the examination content outline. And I'm currently working on the next materials. And again, it will follow the examination content outline. What we see is the structure has changed with a new version here. The last structure was initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing. And to be honest, I loved this structure. I loved it. I think we give something up at this point. It is so natural for project managers to think that way. I have to initiate my project, then we do some planning. We execute our plans, and we have to do replanning again, and so on. We monitor and control what's going on in the project, make sure that not the wrong things happening. And when it's all done, we formally close it down. So this is somehow something we lost. We have a new structure, which is much simpler. It says we have 3 elements to look at: people, process, and the business environment. It will be valid. The new examination content outline will be valid by 2nd of January 2021. First is a holiday, public holiday, and it's still the existing PMBOK guide 6th edition. The 7th edition will become relevant for this examination sometime in 2021. We will see how PMI will do this. There are some ideas at PMI to have a soft change here, no more a hard change, to have some time when the 6th and the 7th edition will be valid for this examination. Whether this is practicable, we will see that. I'm not sure about that. I have my doubts on that. The new examination content outline, the document that we should know, has 3 levels of outline. The first line is called domains. The domains are people, process, and business environment. Below that is tasks, and under this is another level, enablers, which is then very much the detail level in here. So here we see in the performance domain 1 in people, the tasks that's the basis of item writing, of questions that people will have to answer. Then we have process, and that's really long. That's, I think, 17 or so. Yep. 17 tasks. We won't go into detail here. That's part of a preparation class. And then the last one, which is shorter, business environment, 8% of the questions in the examination will relate to business environment. One important thing to understand, in my opinion, that's my personal view because I'm deeply in project business management now. Business environment means internal environment. It means we have an organization that does an internal project, and it's for own use mostly. The organization does a project to develop things that it needs by itself. It may be some kind of organizational change, new products, new services, and so on. I know you are from Pakistan, and I have some knowledge of Pakistan. I was in Pakistan also. And I know many projects in Pakistan are not done for the own organization. Many of them are done by contractors, by organizations that do the project for another organization and get paid for that. Maybe they are subcontractors, subcontractors, and so on. The focus on the PMP examination is the internal project. Is it helpful if you work for a contractor, or if you are a contractor, maybe self-employed, freelancer? It is still very, very helpful because your customer expects this from you. This is what your customer loves to see, that you have have this certification so you know their needs, you understand their needs. It's not your business needs or the business needs of the contractor. It is always the internal project or maybe the customer in a project business. We have one more document here, and that's the handbook. We won't go into detail here, but that's also a document that you need. And as I said, it describes the application process, prerequisites that you have to meet, how to pay the whole thing, yeah? What to do when you're doing the examination with a testing center or with an online proctor. You can do the examination from your workplace or from home with a process called proctored online testing. The proctor is a supervisor during your examination. You have your webcam on, just as we have it here. And the proctor supervises you during that time and makes sure that things are done correctly and that not someone is helping you during the examination. Yeah. So it's a very strict process that PMI has here. And if you do something wrong during these online proctor testing, it may well be that you get blacklisted by PMI. So you have to stick to the rules here, and you have to be accurate as well if you don't want to risk losing the ability, maybe even to this policies. I just see there's a typo in there. Sorry, it's new material. Yeah, just new material. Still some typos in here. Yeah, that's this document that you also should know. There's another change happening in the examination. We get new types of exam questions. The new types of exam questions is no more just only one type, which is multiple choice, forced choice with only one answer. We will have also multiple choice with multiple answers, yeah, or matching questions. You see a list on the left and a list on the right, and now I have to connect those that belong together, and some more new types of questions. So that's another thing that will change. Yeah.
I hope we don't have any short questions like you have to answer briefly in a line or two, because I remember when I was doing my engineering, I was like frustrated about those short questions I have to answer specifically. So I would say, Oliver, that with these matching things and with multiple options, exam is going to be more difficult. What is your intake on this?
I think the preparation gets more difficult as a trainer. You as a trainer, I as a trainer, we have to prepare people for different styles of questions. So that's a challenge on us. I think in the end, the examination will not be more difficult. The idea of PMI is not to make it more difficult, but to have more a creative process behind that, more options here, yeah. To make it maybe more interesting, yeah, not so boring. Always 4 answer options, one is right, 4 answer options, one is right. It gets boring over time. It may be tiring over time. So if they change it, it's easier to stay awake. I don't think that it's really becoming more difficult, but that's a question we can only answer when we will get the first responses from candidates after the examination. But my expectation is not that it will get more difficult.
Okay. So I saw that you are also an ATP, right?
I'm an ATP instructor.
Okay.
The same. ATP is the organization. I'm a freelancer. I cannot become an ATP.
Okay. So you have basically partnership with some organization.
I work with organizations, yes, with training institutes.
Okay.
They are ATPs, or they are on the way to become ATP. You have to be ATP by 1st of January. So they still have some time left to become that. They either have finished the process or are just in process to become ATP, and I work for them. And when I do classes for ATPs, I have to use PMI material. I cannot
that's
use
for sure.
material. But another part of my business is that I'm in organizations, in companies, and classes for their employees. help their employees become PMP certified. And there I have more freedom.
Okay, then you don't have to use that PMI material because ATPs have to use their material,
That's
have to
it.
use PMI, and then you also don't have to pay, since you lie in Europe region, $69 per student.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because
correct.
yeah, $69. So that's a good thing that you have both things. You have that access to that material. You can make your own material, and then in the second way, you have more freedom because as a trainer, from trainer to trainer, I can say that we like our case studies better. We like our material better, and we can explain it better. I understand that the PMI material will be very good and will be very interactive, but that basically limits you. You cannot edit it. You can add on. You can add on, but you cannot edit it and all those rules and regulations. So that's a good thing, and I really like your business model. And I think that will be a business model what most of the trainers will be following along the way because I
I
have.
personally prefer the approach that's why of course my approach, but I prefer the approach to follow the examination content outline tightly.
Okay.
That's the process that I followed for the last 15 years. And it was so successful to go with people through the content outline and tell them, okay, here is a task. What do you know you need to know about that to be able to answer questions? And also I think for this exam preparation, we don't want to have group exercises and things like that. I have
Okay.
that when I do methodology. When I go to a aerospace company and
Hmm.
teach their project managers in project management, then we have group exercises and we do a lot of um, 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 building things. Yeah. But if I'm in a exam preparation, the main point is to make people prepared for the examination, and the
Sure.
tool for
Sure.
that, where they are active, is sample questions. Sample questions are the number one thing there, yeah, so that they are prepared to answer questions. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But with the ATP, if you are premium trainer, you also get 200 sample questions from PMI. That's another advantage. Y-
You have to
Advantage.
you get some questions from PMI, and you have to use PMI material. You're allowed to add own material to that.
Mm,
And
mhm.
first of all, I think the idea is not bad that PMI provides us with material, but I think there is too much playful things in that. An exam preparation needs a different didactical approach
Yes.
compared to a method training. A method training,
Yes.
it's about doing things and it's about internalizing things, yeah, making them part of the habits that you have. Yeah, I need
Yes.
some prediction, so I have a network diagram, and in another moment, I need to do something which is more a discovery. So I use agile methods and so on. That's what we do in our methodological classes. But when we do exam preparation, this is very tough. Just exam preparation. It's a
Yeah.
different. It's a
I
different
understand.
didactic that we need.
I agree with you. Like when you are working with the students, you have to see multiple intelligence. Even in a group, every person has a different learning style. They are seeing things differently. So being a trainer, you have to accommodate that thing along the way and see. I would put some light on the thing that you highlighted it, especially for people who are giving online exam. You must have seen it, and I am also saying along the way that there is malpractice going everywhere. So
Yeah.
all the viewers who are listening, please stay away from that, because with this malpractice, as Oliver said, you can get blacklist for your life, and that is a thing you never want to do. You can fail in the exam, you can appear 3 times in a year. That is not costly thing to do that. Even reappearing fees is $275, which is comparatively very less as compared to that. But don't do any malpractices that you can get disqualified, because you will get disqualified if you do anything and you get caught. And the probability of getting caught is increasing day by day, because I'm getting feedback from my students who did. 3 of my students cleared in last 3 days, and two of them did in an online practice. They told me they are making the system more strong and strong, all the photos and all those things. So with the passage of time, I'm 100% sure PMI will make this system fault proof. It will have a good security, and if anyone played with him, they will definitely get blacklist. And as Oliver said, if we compare cost to benefit analysis of PMP as to your as to master's degree, as to your engineering bachelor's degree, the payment you get, the repayment you get, the benefits you get from PMI is many times more. Right, Oliver?
Absolutely right. And I would like to add something to that. PMI makes more and more use of artificial intelligence to identify fraud, which, first of all, is a good thing to do. They have so many candidates, so many tests. It would be very hard for a human to identify patterns that give a signal, hey, something's wrong here. But artificial intelligence can manage that and can do that. And PMI uses that. And if they find a pattern somewhere that they say, hey, this is a pattern in answers that we had similarly 2 weeks ago, and again, maybe 1 week ago, yeah, something's wrong. And they have a system with yellow lights where they say, we don't accept it, but you can try again. And with red lights. And when the red light turns up, you will be blocked for the future. You will be blacklisted for the rest of your life. You will not be able to do the PMP, to try the PMP exam a second time, because PMP says this was an obvious attempt of fraud. We see it in the results. Yeah? And they have a lot of data here that they can use for that. Yeah? So my clear recommendation is never ever try to deceive PMI here. It will really hit back, and it will hit back very, very hard.
Yeah, agree, totally agree. Okay, we are getting some questions from the audience, and they are at the general related to project management. So, since you mentioned some skills that a new project managers must have, what are the top three skills that project manager need to develop along the way in 2021?
I think the skill number one, I'm not sure if this is a skill, but the trait number one you need to have is self-esteem, that you believe in yourself, that you know your strength is. Yeah, self-esteem, not in the meaning of arrogance. We also meet people who are very arrogant. Yeah, it is a self-critical self-esteem. Yeah, where you know you make mistakes, where you are prepared to accept a certain degree of mistakes for yourself and for others. Yeah, but self-esteem is so important. Otherwise, people will play politics at your back. Yeah, and you will lose, not because you're a poor project manager, but you are not able to stand your ground where it's necessary, but also give up your ground where this is necessary. You must be prepared to do both. Yeah, I think that's an important thing. I'm sure that it's a skill. Then the next thing is a difficult decision in a project situation. Actually, it can change during the project. How far into the future do I need to predict what we are going to do and what may happen in the project? There are situations when you cannot look very far into the future. You are in a creative process. You cannot predict a creative process. Yeah? Then you wouldn't need the creative process anymore. Yeah? When you're on a discovery, yeah? You want to build a bridge, and you're discovering the geology, yeah, and the topology, and the demand for traffic. How many cars do have to cross this bridge per day, and so on. And when you're on a discovery, that's very hard to predict. You can make some very, very broad arrangement. Yeah, let's take 6 weeks for that. But apart from that, you're on a discovery, and discovery means the way is made by walking. While you go the way, you make the way. When you then build the bridge, you need to be very, very predictive, because you have to book resources, people, equipment, and so on. You have to know very early in advance, when are we going to do what? So you have to be very predictive. By the way, the same is true for software projects. There are times in a software project, when you do development, that's a discovery that may be very creative. Then there's the moment when you implement the software and you implement it in operations. Operations want to know, hey, you're going to disrupt our operations. When are you going to start disrupting it? When are you going to end it? How deep will the disruption go? Yeah. And they need your predictability because they have to provide predictability to others. They have to tell others when they will do what. Yeah. So there are moments when we have to be more predictive, and there are moments when it's all more a kind of discovery. Yeah? So adjusting the approach to that, I think, is one of the most important things that project managers should learn. They should learn when is a short-term approach the right approach, and when do I need a long-term approach, a predictive approach. And then the next thing, of course, is they need to know the tools for that. They need to know the agile tools as well as network diagramming and WBS and so on, where we are more on the predictive way. Yeah. There's another thing, and that's a special group of project managers. That's my favorite group at the moment, the group I care most about, and that's project managers in customer projects. If you are in a customer project, it's not enough to know project management. You do a business for your employer. You bring money home. It's a profit center. So while it's important to have a happy customer, it is also important to look at two other things. One of them is profitability of the project, and another one, sometimes more important, is liquidity during the time of the project. You lay out money for the customer. I know that there was a certain number of companies in Pakistan, construction companies, going bankrupt in big infrastructure projects, mainly as part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Yeah, and when money wasn't paid to them, it was the last payment that they needed. Yeah? They did the project, and during the course of the project, most of the time the project was a loss because they laid out money for their customer. Now it would have been the last payment that turned it into a profit, yeah? And paid it all back, and the last payment didn't come. Yeah? What an awful situation. You go bankrupt. And as a project manager, I hear a lot of people say, I don't care about that. I don't care about it. It's not my job. Yeah, I'm the project manager. I have nothing to do with that. Who else has? Who can have a look at that? Who can take the responsibility to make sure that the project brings the profit that it needs to bring? Yeah. So that's the other thing that I think that's very important today for project managers, to develop business acumen. That's the knowledge how to do it, and business spirit, the preparedness to take over this responsibility, because the alternative is to lose your job at one point in time because your employer is on the way into bankruptcy.
Yeah, sure. So basically, building self-esteem and have a heart to discover things, and once you discover thing, be try to make it predictable as much as possible. Because you give a great example of a software. If a software is not running along the way, if it is not predictable, it becomes useless. Then having the business spirit, business knowledge, because now the world, as we are moving with the global projects and all those things with us in Pakistan with CPEC, you need to know how to handle the business part. And I will refer to PMI Talent Triangle. Exactly, that is what PMI Talent Triangle is saying to us, that how we manage that as a project manager. So if you are a PMP certified, you need to know. But now PMI is saying, PMI is not saying anymore, look at scope, time or cost. No, 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 no. PMI is saying that have a leadership, have technical project management, and have a business knowledge about it. Okay, one last question. We are already running out of time, and we are getting a lot of questions here. How much with the exam content is changing? We see that people, processes, and business is coming there. How much uh, communication and specifically active listening is important nowadays for a project manager?
I think active listening is extremely important, but we have to understand what it means. As active listening is not just being a bit more intensive in listening. It means to ask the right questions. It means to send the right signals so that you will get the right responses from them. There's a statement: you cannot not communicate. Yeah? You cannot not communicate. Yeah? Václavic. So it's not just communicating. It means communicating in a way that you get all the information back that you really need. And by the way, when we talk about cultures, you are in Pakistan, I am in Germany. Yeah. Often it also means to communicate in a way that the German is understood by the Pakistani and the Pakistani is understood by the German. Yeah, we have a lot of risk here for misunderstandings, and so that's part of that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
important. It gets more and more important.
Okay, okay. We are running out of time, and I would love to do it again, and preferably when we have something ahead of us. Exam has changed. Maybe in the end of January, if you are free at that time, because I'm thinking you will be very busy, and hopefully all of us will be very busy. So thank you, Oliver. Thank you a lot for joining us and giving us all this knowledge about exam content line and all these things.
Thank you for inviting me, and have a great day, great evening in Pakistan to all of you.
Thank you,
Bye.
thank you. So today we had one of the mentors in project management. He told
Yeah.
us how exam is basically changing and how these things can affect us. And if you want to become a PMP, you should become a PMP because that is the most important thing. And if you pay something, some amount on training, some amount on time and amount and energy on becoming a certified project manager, that will pay you off. With that, thank you very much, and see you till next time. Bye bye.